Girl, I must want you. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. So, you are here today with the Hopeful Romantic Podcast. And I am your host, Dropping Dimes, and this is my co host, Maya Vibes. Maya Vibes, what's going
Hello,
on?
hello. What's going on? We're
We're good, man. We out here today. I think we're on one today. I think we got a really good topic. I
oh
think
yeah.
that just based on conversations behind the scenes, I've noticed that you have a lot of perspective. So I'm really gonna fall in line and kind of like pay attention to what you're saying because I also have a huge. Not only do I have experience in this topic, but I also have a very big opinion. You know what I mean? And I would love to hear. Hopefully, we get a lot of people logging on to give us some questions and ask us what's going on, and follow along with us because I really want to hear people's opinions. So today we decided that we're going to cover long distance relationships.
Relationships. Ooh.
Long distance relationships. Okay. They have a bit of a bad rap when you talk to some people, but I have met people where it's worked. You know, I have experience with long distance relationships. And when I look back on my history, I could say what maybe I could have done different, what could have worked, what didn't work, maybe how I perceive things because of the distance. Also, where I was in my life during that type of relationship. So there's a lot of different thoughts that are gonna come up. I really hope the audience chimes in with some questions, with some thoughts. I know a lot of people that have done this. I know a lot of people that when they can't find what they're looking for in the immediate area, all of a sudden somebody pops up from across the country. Somebody pops up from another state. Somebody pops up from just another part of the world. And you have this attraction, you have this connection. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm super interested to hear either A, people's experience and what they went through, B, um, how they saw maybe some of the errors that they made, maybe some of the mistakes that they made, or if you've been successful and so far you've been chugging along in the situation you're in, chime in. Let us know. Let us know that you've been successful. Let us know that it's worked out for you. I want to see all angles of this argument. I don't want to go with the common narrative when you're watching TV or when you're watching the internet and it says, oh, it's terrible. It's going to end badly. I really want to see people that talk about how it definitely, it's done well for them. Or maybe you went through it and you say, you know what, maybe it didn't work out, but I enjoyed the experience. Okay. So, my vibe, what are your thoughts on long distance relationships?
I actually tell you, I did some research and now I have mixed feelings about it. I went into this being one of those naysayers, okay? But there are some positive aspects about doing it. Let me tell you my experience with it. When I was 19 years old, I met a young guy who was 24, okay? And we met at a nightclub, okay? The next day, I had said to him, I am going to be working. But I actually took the day off because I partied my butt off the night before. Okay, so I get a call from my coworkers and they're like, there's a bouquet of roses on the counter here for you. Wow. I was like, wait, what? Okay. Guys my age really weren't doing much of that, right? So I was like, okay. The next day I go to work, I grab the flowers. Oh my God, beautiful. Then started a long distance relationship with this young man, right? He lived in Bermuda. Well, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And I have to tell you, he set the mark at a very young age for everybody else that came along. I got jewelry, I got FedExed flowers. He was coming often. I'm sure it was very expensive for him. And it was just a marvelous, marvelous experience at 19. Got me?
Right.
Now I'm 50. Okay. You know, it always comes back to that, and it's always relative to age. I wouldn't do this. To
Yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's a waste of time. I want a guy who's going to sit next to me, have a sip of wine, Let's gaze into each other's eyes. You get what I'm saying? Like I want to be able to take a walk with you, on the park, in the park, or on the near the ocean. Like, let's do stuff together. Let's go wine tasting. Let's go take a trip. What do I need? Along the dude. That's all the way. It's going to be expensive, right? But we'll get into those details in just a minute. What is your take?
Okay, so the thing about I really work hard not to. I was left with a bit of a bitter taste, but I am also a hopeful romantic.
Right.
So what I like to do is I like to look back and really examine the situation and say, okay, it would have had potential if I would have, or there's things that I could have done, right? But to give you my honest opinion, I believe that long distance relationships, right, what they do is they create a false sense of intimacy.
100%.
Okay. A lot of times what they'll do, you can combat that. But initially what they'll do is they really provoke a false sense of intimacy. I always say that for a woman, communication equals love.
Right.
Okay. So it's natural that if I'm constantly on the phone with you, giving you all the communication that your heart desires and that it needs,
Gosh, yeah.
and you feel fulfilled in that aspect of your life, because it may have been empty for so long, you mistake that for love.
Right.
Yeah, you start to feel fulfilled in that area, discounting the other areas of your life. For a man, what men tend to do is we tend to share, because of the amount of communication, we tend to end up sharing a lot of parts of us and talking. And then you got to point out the fact that the both of you are there because you want to. So that comes into it kind of highlights the situation. It says, oh, you're here because you feel like being honest. I'm here because nobody's watching us, nobody's paying it. So
right.
we're on the honor system. Oh, so this must be real because
right.
we're here on the honor system. You know what I mean? So that gives it another aspect. But that false sense of intimacy, it doesn't count what you just talked about. It doesn't venture into the field that you just talked about. You touched on a really important point, that physical touch, that quality time. But let's dive deeper into that category. Let's talk about the day-to-day.
Right.
That you can love when somebody talks to you and they're amazing, but then all of a sudden they're in the house with you and they're living with you, and you see that they don't pick up their clothes.
Right.
They don't flush the toilet. They don't wash this. They're sloppy. They're dirty. Or they take showers every other day. There's things that you don't understand about them.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying, Mike. Let me tell you something. To me, I'm a very, warm kind of person. I like the physical, touch and stuff like that. And one of the ways to my heart is, let me come close to me. I want to smell your natural smell, but I want to smell something nice, right? I want to know that the person that I'm with has the same type of hygiene. I'm a shower fanatic, and I'm like, are you that person too? I mean, am I going to have to eventually, when we're together, beg you to go and take a shower so you can jump into bed? Like, these are the things that you get to know from having the person in close proximity. We talk about, communication and stuff like that. There are things you can tell me till you're blue in the face. I like to shower 100 times a day. Really? Let me see it. Show me. Let me see it. Let me smell you. Let me, come close to you and not feel repulsed by you. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
There are things where, long distance relationships just foster a whole set of emotions that shouldn't be, to my preference, experienced. I mean, first of all, let's talk about communication in the telephone aspect, right? Texting aspect. If that person doesn't answer you right away, all of a sudden, if they're across the world, your imagination goes into warp speed. Oh my gosh, did something happen to them? Why aren't they picking up their phone? Like, this is very unusual. This is not the pattern. It disrupts your own way of life because now you've become accustomed to, this telephone call every, day at 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, right? And now this person is MIA. And I don't think they call it ghosting. I think they call it something else. Um, I'll get back to it when I find it, but they call it stonewalling. You feel like you've been stonewalled, right? This person is now MIA. The other thing that's very curious is that, listen, cheating happens in every relationship, right? And according to what I read in my research, it doesn't happen any more often in a long distance relationship than it does in a regular relationship. So that's the good news, right? The bad news is that in a long distance relationship, deceit is a lot easier, right? It's a lot grander because
Right.
nobody's there to watch you, nobody's there to catch you, nobody's there to, make you accountable. So, for those reasons, I just think that, listen, it's definitely something that it really, you really have to make a super deep connection, have things in common. Okay, here's another thing. The person on the other line is telling you, "Oh, I jog every morning," but you've never seen him jog,
Right.
right? You've never seen him jog. You've never actually said, "Okay, I've watched
What
you."
men will end up doing, what men end up doing, we understand that women fall in love with their ears.
Hmm.
So what we'll end up doing is we start to, because we're getting a lot of information. Okay, we're getting a lot of information. So what we feel like is we have the ability to now shapeshift, right? And kind of start catering what we say to you based on what you told us you want. And there's no way for you to verify who we really are. So I can tell you that I'm highly motivated. I dream big. I have a little bit of money. I save money. I do this. I do that. Yeah, I got a nice apartment. I can tell you I can pay. See, here's the thing. In a long distance relationship, what I find is that women, they tend to fall for the painting
Right.
before men do.
That's right.
They tend to fall for the painting. We tend to fall when we're in front of you. So we decide now we're going to go out to visit and meet you. And now we're really into you. Don't get me wrong. Guys do fall through the phone. We've seen enough of that on TV with, uh, you know, people fall in love and it turns out it's not even a real person or it's a man or a woman.
Why? But why is that love? Why is that? Why are people considering that love? That's friendship.
Yes, well, you see what it is, Karen, is people, they lack that in their lives. They lack that communication. They lack that level of communication in their lives. Okay, they don't have that on it. They've had relationships where the communication was lacking, so it ended. Okay, they might have had all the other stuff, the little bits. They just weren't stimulated mentally by
Mhm.
somebody. Okay, so when you get somebody on the phone or you meet somebody through the internet, it's a long distance. You are now being stimulated mentally. And
Dopamine.
when you're being stimulated mentally, you're able to say, oh, these other things, they almost go on the back burner. And your mind goes into this mode where it's like, I'm being stimulated. This must be good. This must make me happy. This must be, and it stays there. And the problem is that those things, for men, the initial conversation, you're cool, but we're really looking, is she sexy? Is she hot? What's she about? And then I get in front of you. Then I'm like, oh, maybe I'll come out to see you. I get around you. Now, here's the thing when I get around you. When I get around you, I could be anybody I want.
Right.
You don't know me. You think you know me, but you don't know me. So I can be, but guess what? You could only fake it for so long.
Right.
So this image, you know how they go, you go out to Vegas, you can literally put on a persona and be that guy. Well, guess what? You could do that for a weekend, maybe a week. But when that stuff money starts to dry up, You can't keep that persona. You got to give back that rented Lamborghini. Well, the same thing happens when you're in a long distance relationship. Yeah, you have that bravado, you have that whatever. But then all of a sudden, a month in, a couple of weeks in, a couple of weekends in, you show her this vulnerable side of you. But because you never communicated that side of you on the phone or through the internet, she's looking at you like, who is this guy? That's not the guy I like. Yeah, that's not the guy I like. No, this isn't cool, you know? And now for women, on the other hand, now you're next to him and he's not communicating at the level that he communicated over the phone. Now he's in front of you and he's more of a mute. He's more of an introvert. And you're like, what happened to the guy? Hey, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. And the guy's just not a talker. Or you are into hiking and he painted the picture that I love hiking. I love going, I love going out. I love this, I love that. And now it's Sunday and he wants to sit on the couch and watch football. And you're looking at him, no, can we go out? You told me. And he's sitting there watching. No, this is why. You know, it's a miscommunication. It's funny because it's based on communication, but in the end, there's a lot of miscommunication.
Yes, 100%.
There's a miscommunication, and people they'll flounder. They don't understand that how they put the toilet paper on the roll, how they take the toothpaste out. Yeah, how they take the toothpaste out. How often they communicate with their mother. You know, what their past looks like. You have baby mama drama. I don't know that because over the phone, I can hide it.
You can hide it?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I live with my sister. Oh, but on the phone, it sounded like you had your own place. Like you were Mr. Independent. Yeah, there's a lot of things. I can lie to you, tell you I have my own home. There's so many things. And here's the thing, a lot of times, right? Your intentions are good. A lot of times intentions are good. When you get on that phone and you meet somebody, you genuinely want that relationship. Because again, there's nothing holding you to being faithful, to being honest. So you're really doing it from a good place, except human nature says, I have to be next to you and see you and feel you and to really, truly understand you.
Understand you and know you. Yeah, 100%. So here are a couple of things that I wrote down. It says, eventually you run out of things to talk about, right? Because too much talking, too much communication, you kind of run out of subjects, okay? All right. You breed an intensity that makes the relationship move faster. So you're like at warp speed.
It's that false sense. And that is exactly what it's the false sense of intimacy. It's this express lane into your brain, which also leads to your heart. So it's that express lane. It's like, so think about it, right? You're around a young man and all you have is somebody that all they do is communicate, all they do is talk, all they do is share, right? But you don't see when he's angry at work. There's things that you don't see, you know? So, let me see here. There's things that you don't see. So, I don't know. Sorry about that, guys. I'm just working on a little tech. But, yeah, there's things that you don't see in that person. So that lane highway is really, it's not real. It's not real. It really just...
And so what happens is you start putting other aspects of your life on hold, right? Because now you're wondering and you're feeling insecure and you're feeling jealous. Maybe ordinarily you're not that person, but all of a sudden this scenario in your life is starting to conjure up these feelings. And it's like, why are you tormenting yourself and putting yourself through this? Find yourself somebody who lives around the corner from your house. Or listen, let's say, find yourself somebody in your own state. Okay, I got to tell you a quick story, okay? I remember being on the phone with a friend, okay? And he wasn't even that long distance. He was what I call geographically undesirable. He was in a different county, okay? Great guy, amazing. So I go to Publix. Here it's like a ShopRite or whatever, supermarket. And I did a bunch of groceries, right? And I'm on the phone with him. Okay. And then all of a sudden I get to my car. And it was after a long day. And I was exhausted. And I had to put those groceries in my car all on my own. But this guy's taking up my time on the phone. I was like, "Are you done, buddy? I'm not doing this anymore. Like, either you get your butt over here and help me do these groceries, cash at me or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, compensate me for my time."
You're hitting on a really important point because, again, all the intentions can be good, right? Your intentions are great as far as what you want. The problem is there's going to be those times when you need them and you find yourself alone.
Well, that's
right. And the truth is, you're in a situation where your relationship is no longer as fulfilling because it's like, I care about this person. That's the person I want to be with, but I got invited to this barbecue and I got to go alone. I got to make this move. I got to do this move or whatever, and I got to do it alone. These are all things that start to come up. But the most important part is what you learn when you're face to face with somebody. If I could put a bow on this part of the conversation, when you're in a long distance relationship, initially, you're going to have that freeway into somebody's mind. You're going to have that ability to get there, and you are going to be able to fast track a relationship. The problem is once you get around somebody, then you start to see some of the ugly side of the situation.
Oh, yeah.
And you start to discover things that you're like, you don't like about them. See, and that's the difference between like and love. And that's the difference between that in love and love. Because you fall in love through the communication. But then when you're spending time with them, when you're with them, you realize, can you love this part of them? Which is the other 50%. See, when you're doing the long distance, you're literally falling in love with 50% of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Only half. So it's not the same.
Here's another story, right? So I dated this guy, and we broke up because he was just emotionally void. Like he didn't give you anything emotionally. He didn't, help you out, physically, let's say, with, like a shopping or whatever. He was just useless. Okay. And I'm like, if I'm going to be with a lump of log, I want to be by myself. Goodbye. See you later. Right. Okay. Right. So now he's in a long distance relationship with this girl. Right. And I'm looking at this like, girl, what you are in for, let me tell you. Okay. He doesn't do anything for anybody. And it's just the type of person that he is, right? Because I give a lot of chances, and I'm very open-hearted, okay? But it's just innate in his nature and in the way he is, that he's not going to probably, with his own issues, daddy issues or whatever, it is that he's got going on, but he's just not an individual who's going to share that aspect of himself with anybody, right? So over the phone and over, the internet, this girl is probably super, super in love, waiting for him to send her a Visa card, come to the United States, and fall in love with Prince Charming. But what she doesn't know is Al Bundy's waiting for her. You get what I'm saying? Al Bundy's sitting there waiting for her. So in the meantime, it breeds insecurity. There's jealousy involved. There's that imaginary assumption that they hold charming qualities, which is what you're talking about.
We've done a great job of giving you the cons.
The cons.
I think that we've really discussed a lot of the cons on what, how it doesn't work. But you know what? Like I said, we're the hopeful romantic podcast. Of
course.
We're not the hopeless. We're the hopeful romantic podcast. So what we want to do is let's talk about some of the success stories, which I know personally. I know some people that They met long distance. They did the appropriate timeline, which I think a lot of people overlook. They had the necessary conversations within their personal lives. The person looked beyond. So I'm going to touch on it. So when you are, again, if you can acknowledge and you understand that it creates a false sense of intimacy, right? If you understand it, if you come into the game understanding that, okay, I fell in love with 50% of this person, and you are open to discovering the other 50% in an honest, open way, where you're not judging, you're going to say, okay, cool, I love that part of you. Now let me see if I can deal in this part of your life. Okay? There's conversations that need to be had, obviously. You know, what my advice to people is, okay, if you've gotten to the point where you're in this relationship and you really care about somebody, it's okay to do your research. Yes. Meaning, you look past this person and into their circle, who their circle is. See, when somebody's trying to hide something, they keep you away from their circle, or they minimize your contact with their circle, or they limit who in their circle you're going to be in touch with. They manipulate who. Okay? Like I always say this, I got 3 sisters. There's one I can introduce every girl to. There's one I can't introduce any girl to. And then there's one I wouldn't introduce any girl to. Okay? And that's just what it is.
I'm the last one.
All right. But there's that's what you have. And everybody has that. Whether it's an uncle, an aunt, and you'll have men, you know, so when you come, let's say you're a woman and you're coming into a man's space, his hometown or where he's from, you really need to explore what his reputation is in that town.
Oh, yeah.
You got to explore where he ranks in his family. Okay, where he ranks in his family. Because over the phone, he can tell you he's the alpha, I'm in charge. You know, everybody's coming to me with their problems. And then when you get there, you're like, oh, you're the black sheep.
You're the one
that has all the problems. Yeah, you're the one that has all the problems. You know, so you have to kind of look past that. You have to understand where he ranks, who he is. You have to understand, is he stable? Is he living in his own place? Is he working regularly? What is he doing? There's things that people don't do. They settle on the fact that they thought they knew this person. They go into this person's arena and kind of start finding out things that if they just would have looked through the rose-colored glasses, they would have seen a mile away. You know what I mean? They would have seen the signs. But because when you're on the phone, here's the thing, right? Here's a dime. I'm about to drop a dime, people.
Oh, drop it.
Here's the thing. When you are falling in love in a long-distance relationship, you're falling in love with yourself as much as you're falling in love with them.
100%. I totally agree with that statement. I 100%. Because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, you're essentially falling in love with yourself. Look,
you're falling in love with how you feel. You're falling in love with how you feel. You're not necessarily falling in love with that person. 100%. You're literally falling in love with how you feel. He makes me feel great. I'm falling in love with that feeling. I want more of it. I'm going to continue this, right? But then when you're in front of them, now you have to love them for who they are. And that's where things get complicated, because now you start to discover who they are and you're like, that feeling's not here anymore. And I don't really like this person. Mm-hmm. Or our thoughts on money don't align. Our morality, our thoughts of good and bad, how we parent, all those things don't align, you know? And while they were on the phone, like I said, you could hide it. But to go back to the plus, I'm going to bring it around. What are the positives? Like I said, if you can look past and look into his life, or he looks into your life, right? And you understand who this person is within their circle, who they are. And you say to yourself, yeah, I like that person. That's step one in getting to know who they really are. Mm-hmm. Have essential conversations. Have essential conversations and then back it up with evidence. So for instance, essential conversations are, what do you like with money? And then pay attention to the spending habits when you're there and how they handle that money. You're not watching their pockets. You're watching their habits, how they pertain to what they said. To
I
what they
dated a
said.
guy. I dated a guy who I thought initially was cheap, right? And I was doing very well financially at the time. So I had no problem sharing the expense, right? And then I was like, okay, but I noticed that you're a little cheap. Like, what is that about? He wasn't cheap. He just wasn't up to par. He was making significantly less than I was, right? But the picture he painted was of this, my God, this, you know, he was at the cusp of being a millionaire, this guy, right? So
What
he wasn't super rich, but he was at the cusp. He was like, he was on this, cutting edge, you know, I, ideology about himself that really wasn't a reality. So then I was like, you're not cheap. You're, and I don't want to use the word poor because he was far from being poor, but it was like, why did you put up this, persona? And then I realized that, okay, it was because, I drive a Lexus, and I, have something, not a lot, but it's something. And he was trying to, I guess, what is it? Put up at the Jones? What is it?
put up a front?
Put up the front. Put up the, live up to the Joneses and stuff. You know? What I
No,
mean?
what he did was, see, Carol, this is where you have to be honest with yourself. What he did was he grabbed the image that you're portraying and he weaponized it and used it against you. You gave him all the bullets in the gun that shot you. You gave it to him because.
He didn't shoot me because I was like, it's not my problem. You
and
can't
here's
go
the
out, you
deal.
can't go out.
And that leads me to part number 2 on how to make this a successful transition. Part 2 is be honest.
100%.
Be
100%.
honest. Not honest in terms of, see, people are honest in long distance relationships like they're honest on the internet. Okay? When somebody's on the internet, they'll say something like, I want a relationship. They genuinely want the relationship.
Right.
But what they're not telling you is they're not being honest.
I don't want it every day.
No, what they're not telling you is they're not really genuinely prepared or ready emotionally to sustain a relationship.
Right.
So when you're in that long distance relationship, you have to be honest. You have to let somebody know, hey, I'm not easy to be with, man. It's very easy to paint the picture and be like, I have my stuff together and I just want to be happy.
Listen, I always tell guys this. I like going out to nice restaurants, okay? And I will drop $200 easy on myself for dinner. That does not mean that you have to do that for me, okay? Just don't expect me to do that for you. You know what I mean? I'm not that chick. I'm not the one that's going to be like, okay, I'm going to spend $200 on me. Let me spend another $200 on you. Just as long as you're clear with that. But I don't put any pressure on anybody to do what I could do for myself, okay? That's the bottom line. In a long distance relationship, let's get to this. In a long distance relationship,
Yeah.
It's very costly. You have to travel to places to go see these other people, right? So my thought is this. Okay, let's just talk about what I like about long distance relationships. I love the fact that people can create creative ways to actually date each other. Take your cell phone to a restaurant while he's at a restaurant in another city and you're talking to each other. That to me is very creative, okay? It means that you're putting an effort into dating each other and being together and sharing an experience even though you're not physically there with one another. Okay? That I think is super creative. I think it's nice. I also love the fact that you get the opportunity to explore different territories when you're dating somebody from another place. So let's just say you're dating somebody in Europe. You didn't ordinarily, ever figure that you would select Europe to travel to, but all of a sudden now this person is there and you have, familiarity there and you want to go visit and you're able to, just tour the world based on the fact that you're now in this beautiful relationship where you're beginning to know someone. right? So I really, really like those things. But cost, it's expensive. It's expensive. You're going to travel. I mean, how often are you going to see this person if they're in Europe? How often are you going to see this person if they're in South America? What if they're in Africa? What if they're, in all these different continents? Like, it's very expensive. Now, it's also relative to age. If you're in your 20s, by all means, knock yourself out, do it, okay? You can make that money later. But if you're in your 50s, 50, 60 years old, when you should be saving for retirement, what are you doing spending your retirement money, traveling?
I'm going to disagree. And here's why I'm going to disagree. You put your money where you see value. And some people see value in their happiness. And you know what? If that's what makes you happy in that moment, in that time, I'm not here to knock you and tell you don't do it. And the longer the distance, yeah, it does eventually become a burden on the relationship, the amount of distance, okay? But what you can say is this. What I find to make it successful is timelines. Timelines have to be discussed, and these are sometimes conversations that can get tricky when one party doesn't really see what you see. You know what I mean? Sometimes you'll set a timeline and say, but I don't ever want to move to Europe. I love America. Or the other person says, I want to move from Europe to America, but they don't really understand what it constitutes to live in America and how work is different here in America than it is the style of work that they do in Europe, the way, the pace that they take life, But timelines are an important thing to discuss. So when I say if you're going to be successful in a long distance relationship, one of the first things you have to do, and it's not just timelines, there's different parts to a timeline. Timeline number one, what are you, number one, let's discuss, are we going to go to where you live? Or are we going to end up where I live? Or are we going to look for somewhere in between?
Right.
Okay. That's one. That needs to be discussed. And it's not something that should be swept under the rug because you're having so much fun and you're enjoying the ride. Because that ride's going to come to an end and you're going to have to make a decision. Okay. So that's number one. Don't put yourself in a situation where they're not going to you, they're not coming to you. And what are you doing that for? You're really just going to create a disaster for yourself.
Yeah.
Number two, a timeline on when you will let them into your realm, into your personal space, meaning when you're going to meet family, friends, all these people. Okay, here's the mistake people make. You came from out of town, you met my whole circle. Yeah, but
that is the worst.
Yeah, we haven't settled on anything yet. So you're really just kind of on enthusiasm, introducing a guy that might not be there. Protect that. But establish a timeline and then say, okay, look, at this point, this is where you're going to meet these people in my life. Now, make sure that he gives you equal access to the people in his life.
Right.
He has to give you equal access to the people in his life. So that's another part of making it work. When kids are involved, when children are involved, conversations need to be had with the children, not requesting permission to be happy, not requesting permission to date, not requesting permission to date long distance date, but a conversation needs to be had, explain to them how their life might change in the near future, how mommy might have to go away for a couple of days.
Here's a question.
How somebody might come to visit.
Here's a question on that note. If the person in the long distance relationship has children, shouldn't the other person be more inclined to go live closer where the children are?
Okay, the father in me says yes, right? The father in me says yes, absolutely. But the reality of it is, no, because what if that is an individual situation where I meet you. My situation where I am is not that great, right? And actually going to you, it's touchy because I go to you, I leave my power base to go to you, and now I uplift my kids, I uproot everybody to go to where you're at, and if it doesn't work, it's a disaster, right? But there are times where the person just gives you, they become undeniable, and they provide so much for you. They say, hey, look, this is the life I can give you. And they paint the picture and they show you, and they live up to the hype. Where then in that case, I say, make the move, you know?
Right.
I'm not one to tell you not to make that move. But it's, that's a very nuanced question, because you have to look at so many different things. Do I uproot my kids on a whim? No. But that's why the timeline is so important. You only do that once this person is proven to be who they say they are. The emotions are real. A level of commitment has been made, right? And now the planning goes from you over here, me over here, to us together. And what are we going to do as a union? Right? And a level of commitment. You know what I'm saying? A level of commitment where he has shown you that you are part of me. We are together. We are going to work, you know? So, if I could give you if ideally in those situations, it would be to find a middle ground. Somewhere neither, like, here's the thing. When you go live to somebody's town or where they're from, they almost have a power base. It's sad to say, but they almost have a power base where they unfortunately almost feel like they have the upper hand. Because where are you going to go when you're sad? Where are you going to go when you're pissed?
Right.
Where are you going to run to when you need help? You know, where they go to their sisters, their cousins, their aunts. I'm leaving. I'm going to my mother. You know, stuff like that. So that's the kind of also something you need to take into account. I've experienced all this. This is not something I'm just talking out of my neck. I learned a lot from it. I went into somebody else's power base. I went around somebody else's family, and it got to the point where my life was going up and down. I had things going on. They were nice, but they weren't family.
Right.
They were cool. And at the end of the day, when we had issues, they were never going to side with me. They were always going to side with me. Wrong, right, or indifferent, they were always going to side on that side of the fence. And you kind of have to take that into account. Understand that if I take that trip to Cali and I move to Cali with this woman where her whole family lives and I'm there, guess what? When she's pissed off at me, I'm going to have 15 to 20 family members pissed off. Yep. You know what I'm saying? So there's things like that. It can work, like I said, with honesty, communication, strong timelines, right? Real commitment. I've seen it work. I have a couple that I absolutely love. They're good friends of mine. And I'm not going to give too much away about them, but they lived across the country from each other. And it started off as friends, as a friendship. Mm-hmm. And that friendship caught fire, and it became a little more and a little more. A year and a half later, a little more. Now he's visiting. She's coming out a little longer. Now all of a sudden we have an event. He brings her. We're like, oh, hey, what's up? Oh, you guys are together? Yeah, we decided to make it public. We're together. Oh, cool. She goes back. Now he feels like he can't eat, he can't sleep, he can't breathe when she's away. Now he's like, I got to make a decision. I got to make a choice. She's like, I love you. I'll go to you. You come to me. It doesn't matter. He's like, no. My job is more flexible. I'll go to you. He goes to her. Everything he said he was. Everything she said she was. So when they were together, it was a true, honest exchange of energy, a true, honest exchange. That intimacy that they had on the phone translated into real life. They had these little conversations about, hey, are you this type of person? I'm a morning person. Do you wake up early? Are you a night person? Are you this? Are you that? What are you? You know what I'm saying? These little conversations that you can overlook on the phone, because on the phone, you talk about dreams and aspirations, and this is what I want out of love, right? Where when you're in person, you're talking about, do you wear socks? I don't even wear socks. I hate socks. Oh, I hate socks too. Oh my God. Okay, that's cool. Like, we're good. As opposed to, oh, okay. When I go on vacation, I like to wake up at 6 a.m. and hit the beach and be out. Ah, man, I sleep till noon.
I like to pay for my excursions up front.
Yeah, this can't work. This can't work. You know what I mean? So these honest conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the last, like I said, the honest timeline, the honest person of who you are. If you can do all those things, and you meet somebody who's doing that back to you, right? And recognize that that's 50% of the communication, and start basically fresh when we're in front of each other, right?
Mhm.
And understand that we have to be honest with each other, and understand that we're gonna rediscover each other. This other 50%, then I believe long distance relationships can work.
Mark. Mm.
Yeah, they can work. You know, it just sometimes, it's a tricky situation. Like I said, if you can get past that, if anybody can walk away with anything today, it's the phone is only 50%. The getting into them, but that's only 50% of getting to know somebody. The other 50% is when they're in front of you, and that 50% is what takes a lot of time, because especially if you're only going there for weekends, you only see bits of them. So you literally have to look and say, okay, I saw 3% of them today. Now I'm at 6%. Now I'm at 9%. Now I'm at 12%. I'm 18%, 22%. And that takes time. But patience. See what happens when you're along this relationship and your mind is racing. I love this person. You
Yeah.
get rid of your patience goes out the window.
Mhm.
If you could slowly, who are they when they're mad? Who are they when they're sad? Who are they when they're down? What kind of person do they need in their life when they're struggling? You know what I mean? You need to find all these things out, and that's that other 50%. And it has to go slow. And as you build up, you'll realize, oh, okay, I don't like this person. Or you realize, I can deal with this. You know what I mean? Now, if you can get to about liking and caring for about 80% of them, that's really good, because nobody's perfect. No relationship is 100%. You know what I'm saying? So if you can figure out, oh shit, I like about 80 to 90% of them, they're great. That's good. You can move on from there. You know what I mean? But if you're meeting them and you're like, damn, I only like about 50, 60% of them, that's not going to work. You know what I mean? It's just not. It's just not. So, what do you call it? I would like to move on to our last part of the day. And this is our red flag,
Oh, my favorite.
no red flag. Let me just. We have this up here, sorry about that. Yeah. So I got a couple.
Okay.
Red flag, no red flag. Your date comes to pick you up in their car. They've said, I'll pick you up. I'll drive tonight. Don't worry about it. We're going to a nice restaurant. You get in their car and it has a funky smell and it's a little messy.
Why didn't you wash the car before you came out and paid for dinner? I don't get it.
Red flag, no red flag. I'm
It's
asking
a red
you.
flag.
Is it a red flag?
That's a red flag.
So a messy car.
Because what? Okay, why is it a red flag? Because okay, you've obviously gotten dressed up nice. You obviously, you know, even if we're both paying for dinner, you're paying for your own dinner, right? Um, but the car's part of it. The car is like part of the whole package. Like
So the first impression is
because
all.
it tells yeah because it tells you a lot about how that person or the amount of effort that guy put into that date. I had a friend. Okay, I had a friend. We're still very good friends. And whenever he would go out on a date with his girlfriend, I thought it was the sweetest thing because he would go get his hair cut at like 3 o'clock. After the haircut, he would go and wash the car. Then he would run home and get dressed and perfumed. Then he would go and pick up the girl. Then it was like every single date was planned out for him. Like this was his routine. And it wasn't like they were dating for, a couple of months and he was trying to impress her. No, he had just made that he had established that as a method for himself And I just thought that was so brilliant. And I used to say to myself, the day that my son starts, having, serious relationships and stuff, I want him to be that kind of person. I want him to be that kind of guy who's going to be methodical about every aspect, building up to that one day with his girl. I think that is the sweetest thing ever.
So you believe a first impression? That first impression kind of could ruin a situation.
Yeah, it says a lot about a guy.
Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. Red flag, no red flag. You're out on a date and he can't seem to let an argument go. He pulls up to a parking spot and somebody cuts him off and takes the spot. And he, lets him have it, lets the guy have it, and can't seem to let it go. Red flag, no red flag.
Big red flag. Big, big, big red flag. Okay? Because the way he's treating that stranger today is the way he's going to treat you tomorrow. So goodbye. See you later. I have a really
No, I hear where you're coming from. That sounds great. I know a lot of women that would look at him as a punk or a pussy if he didn't stand up for himself in that moment.
Oh no. I'm not that chick. Sorry. I'm not the chick. If you don't know how to handle yourself and have common courtesy and carry yourself with dignity, that's not respecting me. If you sit there and you're yelling at some idiot like a psycho, lunatic, and I'm standing there watching you, that's not respecting me. Okay? You're putting yourself out there and making us both look stupid, because now I have to sit there and be like, oh my god, this guy, my boyfriend's like fucking fighting somebody. Like, listen. You know who thinks that way? Low vibration women. A woman who vibrates in a very high, frequency is going to be like, listen, buddy, where's your humanitarian spirit? Okay, why don't you go over there and help the guy and see what's going on? Maybe you could be of help instead of being like a psycho lunatic yelling at people.
Red flag.
Low vibration women, go find yourself that guy.
Red flag, no red flag. He picks you up on a date and you're headed to a restaurant. Nice restaurant. He's dressed nice. The car's clean. On the way there,
he runs out of gas. Skinny jeans?
He runs out of gas.
Oh no.
He runs out of gas. Now, it's only because, oh my God, I got so busy, I forgot. Oh my God, it's one of those situations. Not that he's broke. Oh my God, I forgot. Red flag, no red flag.
Okay, preparedness is a big deal for me, right? But I would say in a situation like that, I promise you, I would say to him, look, let's just get gas and here's $10. Okay?
No, he doesn't need your money. He doesn't need your money.
All right. No, okay, whatever. Let's just go get gas. It's not a big deal. Like,
So no red flag. No red flag.
Red flag only because it's one of those things where if the card's clean, if he's got all these other points, right, and he just forgot to put gas, you get a little minus mark. You'll get an A minus.
Okay. I got one, right? And this is for the guys. This is for the guys. Hopefully we get some guys that'll be able to time. Red flag, guys, no red flag. You're out to dinner with a girl, and to be cute, she grabs her fork and goes into your plate and takes some food off the plate.
That's so wrong.
Red flag, no red flag. To me, if she doesn't give me fair warning and she just tries to be cute and puts her fork in whatever, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not responsible for my fork not going into her hand. I don't know yet. I don't know. To me, it's an invasion of personal space. I look at her. I don't care how cute you are. I don't care how cute you are. If you don't preface it by saying, oh my God, at least can I have a bite? If you don't give me that common courtesy, I'm looking at you like, No, these bitches didn't fucking take a piece of my, you know. All right. For the
Let me
guys.
tell you something. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I would never. I think that is so tacky. Like,
It's rude.
I mean, it's rude. It's tacky. I don't know. Maybe it's a family thing. I don't know.
That or she doesn't say
And don't
anything, but
take a sip out of my
she's talking to
straw.
you. She's talking to you, and she grabs your drink. You're looking at her like,
Dude, like,
we don't even know if we like each other yet. What are you doing?
no.
I gotta know.
I have to tell you this. That is a family thing because let me tell you something. Some people don't think anything of it, but
I
our
know.
little group here, we're like, don't touch my cup.
Yes. That's absolutely right. That's definitely a family. I know that for a fact.
Keep away, dude. Like,
You take a sip of my drink, you can have it.
you can have
keep
it, bro. Like,
I don't
have
want
it. Enjoy it.
Okay. Red flag. This is man or woman. Red flag, no red flag. You guys are hanging out, laughing. Oh my God. Da 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 da. And they fart while they're laughing.
Bye.
Wait. See, that's not the red flag, no red flag part. Because if somebody fart, whatever, hey man, no problem. You know, get over it. That's to me at least. But then it's only two of you in the room and they deny it. Red flag, no red flag.
That's a lie, dude. That's a big red flag. If you can't own up to your own flat,
You can't be honest, right?
if you can't be honest,
how can I trust you if you can't be honest about that?
How can I trust you about, did you pay the bill?
Exactly. How can I possibly trust you if you can't even do that, right? No, you're right. You see? No, okay, that's cool. Well, we're coming up on an hour, and I want to say thank you. That was it was an interesting conversation. I think you touched a lot of bases. Before we go, I want to say a big thank you to all the people that made it out for me. August 14th at Crave 43 in Union City, New Jersey for my inaugural book signing. I really want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I'd never felt so much love. It was amazing. The love and support from friends, family, from people I haven't seen in such a long time, from people that I worked with in the past, from kids that I had back in the day in programs that showed up. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. It was amazing. I want to thank Henry Quinones and Carla Bravo from Lux Photography. You guys captured the night. Thank you so much. That was phenomenal. I want to thank Gloria Pierre-Louis and family from Love Glow Up Decor. Thank you so much for forming the atmosphere and making it so appropriate and so perfect. People were telling me how beautiful the setups on the table were. You really grabbed an environment that was built for one thing and literally transformed it into a writer's den. It was beautiful. I loved it. Thank you very much. I'm going to put all these links down below in case you need these services. Last but not least, I want to say a special thank you to my muse, to Yubase Gomez.
Oh my gosh.
I can't even begin to tell you. Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't plan out one part of this entire event. My job is to put my head down and write. And that's it. To be an artist and to really just go into my zone and do what I do. And I promise you, this woman, at some points, I would lose faith and say, oh man, what if? And she'd look at me with all the confidence in the world and say, I believe in you, and trust me, this is going to work out perfect. No, it's going to happen.
She's so
And cool. I promise you, this event, not only was it what I wanted, but it exceeded my expectations. Not only did it do what it was set out to do, but now it catapulted me into a next level with connections that I made that night, with people that reached out to me that night for future projects. And it gave me this momentum now as I go into Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Houston, out Los Angeles. It gave me the momentum for this new energy. And I just want to reach out and say, thank you for saying you don't even know how much you mean to me and
We
what you
love
did.
you. You're
Yes,
amazing.
absolutely, absolutely.
And
And
I
with
wasn't
that,
there, but I was there in spirit.
I
And
know. Oh my
behind the
God, yo,
scenes, we are making things happen. And you know, Orlando's
the
going to be
books are
amazing. Fort
moving.
Lauderdale is going to be amazing.
The
Yep.
books are
Where can we
moving.
find the
Shallow
book?
River to Deep Ocean. A Man's Guide to Understanding His Woman by First Understanding Himself. You can find it on BookBaby, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, anywhere you buy your books online. You will be able to find my book, Shallow River to Deep Ocean: A Man's Guide to Understanding His Woman by First Understanding Himself by Michael A. Navarrete. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Hopeful Romantic Podcast. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Catch us next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. And pretty soon we will be on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, you name it. We will be there. We're working on some things, putting some things together. This is moving and it's moving fast. We're gonna have sponsorship soon. And I'm gonna be dropping some information next week out of a person that really wants to sponsor us and get behind us. But with that said, once again, ladies and gentlemen, Maya Vibes, thank you and good night. Good
night,
night.
guys.
Yes, good night. And with that, I think